Second deputation is Ms. Ursula Cooper-Bennett of Mississauga Watch. Welcome back, Ms. Cooper-Bennett. Please go ahead.
I think you have practiced this dozens of times, so it's just going to be a little bit over 5 minutes, like 5:15. Okay?
What's that?
It's like, pardon?
Can you repeat what you just said?
Yeah, I've practiced this dozens of times, and it'll be about 5 minutes, 15 seconds. But I'm reading it really fast. I don't know if you're going to...
5:15, sure.
Okay. In my January 2017 deputation, I informed this board that Peel Police kept blocking my street check for related Freedom of Information requests and forcing me into appeal after appeal to the Information and Privacy Commissioner. And boy, did you people ever fool me. I didn't know until mid-October when I received yet another Freedom of Information access denied, this time slapped with a frivolous and vexatious claim that I finally figured out it wasn't PRP blocking my street check FOIs, but the chair of this board. I now realize it was the chair and this board who delegated the chief's lawyer, Linda Bordelot, to fight my appeal and write, quote, "We do not see a public interest," unquote, in 4 disputed records in a row. Well, the IPC disagreed and quite the contrary, ruled that the records had compelling public interest. And record 4, that secret 2014 Peel Police Street Check Board report that you showed no interest in, revealed all manner of violations of the Police Services Act, the Ontario Municipal Act, Ontario Human Rights Code, Peel Police directives, policies, and code of conduct, not to mention board adequacy standard policies, for example, management of police records. By far, the most profound violation revealed in your secret 2014 Peel Police Street Check Board report relates to records retention of street checks, PRP 17s. On page 16, under the heading Records Retention, the secret 2014 report states, quote, "There is a retention schedule for street checks and is in occurrences section number 302090101. The retention period is no charges event plus 1 year, charges event plus 5 years, V-class event plus 50 years. Niche is not subject to the retention schedule as a module is not built into the system to manage retention of records," unquote. Now contrast no charges event plus 1 year with what Chief Evans and then Inspector Ingrid Berkeley-Brown reported in September 2015. Regarding retention of PRP 17s, they wrote, quote, "These records are typically retained on an indefinite basis unless statutory requirements dictate otherwise. An environmental scan with surrounding police agencies revealed that information collected through their street check processes is also retained indefinitely," unquote. I immediately filed Freedom of Information for the actual Peel Police records retention schedule just to see the thing with my own eyes. Summarized from the Peel Police record retention schedule for PRP 17s, page 100. Office of Primary Interest, Criminal Investigation Bureau. When charges laid, total, event plus 5 years, disposition method instructions, ERSH. When charges not laid, total event plus 1 year, disposition method instructions, ERSH. ER means erase, shred, and SH, shred. So you all did your best to keep hidden from the public that Peel Police street check forms and their related personal information were not supposed to be retained indefinitely as Evans and Berkeley-Brown claimed, but had a precise destruction schedule. For how many years has the Peel Police covert non-compliance to its PRP 17 street check retention schedule denied tens of thousands of people their right to be forgotten? The right to service of having their personal information expunged as per existing legislation. And you yourselves know what community PRP 17s affect the most. Chief Evans and Berkeley-Brown said there were 130,024 street check contacts between 2009 through 2014. Contacts. That's people carded. I have no idea how many of those 130,000 had erase rights of event plus 1 year, but can tell you that some who were charged are now past the 5-year retention and should have had their PRP information erased. Regarding the ministry's new street check regulation 5816, Chief Evans wrote, quote, "Peel Regional Police will commence a process to restrict access to the legacy street check data," unquote. You gotta love calling years of non-erased PRP 17s legacy street check data. As for will commence a process to restrict access, the majority of the Chief's almost 200,000 legacy street check data should not exist. Page 10 in the 2015 street check process goes on to lie Quote, currently there is no mandatory requirement necessitating regular review and audit of street check forms within the system, unquote. There were mandatory requirements in that Peel Police Records retention schedule and in the board's management of police records, which state, quote, the chief of police shall, B, ensure members act with full respect for human dignity, unquote, and, quote, the chief of police shall regularly review collection, security, retention, use, disclosure, and destruction of police records as may be required to ensure the integrity of the police service directive and/or procedure, unquote. So there were mandatory requirements. That's it. I hope I did it in under 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett Cooper. Chief or Linda Bordlow, you have any comments?
No, I have no comments, Chair.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Questions? Move the motion to receive this deputation. Sue McFadden, second by Frank Dale. All in favor? Move. Thank you. We move to President.
We'll now move into deputations. A reminder that deputations will be limited to 5 minutes in accordance with the board's procedures policy. I will alert you, Ursula, when there is about a minute to go. Our first deputation is by Ursula Cooper Bennett from Mississauga Watch. Welcome back. I see you behind your camera there. I understand you'll be making a deputation via video today. As stated, the video cannot be longer than 5 minutes. Please proceed.
Hi, I just, this video is, it's 5 minutes. It's organized that way. And it's primarily, you'll find it very content dense in that there's a lot of information. And I would expect that a lot of people don't understand it, but if you viewed it slide at a time, it does make sense. And it's a historical record of Peel Police Street Check record retention schedule. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Paul, I just corrected one. Just as a result of the news, just because of my old position, the retention schedule, this new retention schedule is going to address certain occurrences that will be disposed of, because there's actually a liability if we actually have occurrences longer than we should. The information is the bread and butter of all the policing occurrences, but we're recognizing now that we are actually being held accountable, so that's why the new retention schedule is being brought in. Some occurrences will be destroyed after a certain amount of time.
Whereas the practice known as street checking/carding has been considered controversial and unfairly targeting ethnic minority communities, and whereas we must continuously review our policing methods to ensure that the rights and freedoms of all residents of Peel are respected, and therefore be it resolved that the board consult best practices regarding the retention of information on citizens.
I think it behooves us to look at some of the issues that have been raised, which is the retention of the documents. Therefore, be it resolved, the Peel Regional Police work closely with the Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services to fully disclose how the data is collected, how long it's retained.
This is a significant issue, and it's primarily focused at Black community and Black male in particular. We need to address this thing.
Establish clear guidelines for the gathering and retention of information. That was another very hot topic. How long is it kept?
My understanding is that it is there forever. So things like that has to go. I mean, it cannot be that you're going to keep my information on your system for as long as I live, and even after I'm dead and gone.
I know that the other chiefs are quite anxiously waiting. When we demonstrated our report last week to them, we showed it to them, and they're quite anxious for this to be shared with them, because they say a lot of them haven't even begun to understand the regulation, let alone move forward to how they're going to implement it before July 1st.
The aim of our policy committee is to develop some policies around the work that you will be doing, and we know that we need to have a draft ready by July the 1st. I can see Linda. Thank you. we are working on it.
And Madam Chair, I spoke to Ms. Wardlow yesterday with the fact that we would make ourselves available to look at the directive as well and assist with that process, so thank you.
I'm pretty confident we have such a wonderful chair of the policy committee that it will be done, no problem.
And is that true of the historical data?
So the regulation states that the documentation, the information would be restricted after 5 years. So currently, Peel Regional Police, we have committed to the board earlier this year that we would go back in time and we would restrict data. So we have been doing that since November 1st. So far, we have restricted over 24,000 documents, and we still have 74,469 street check records to restrict. We are in the process, and we will be compliant by December 31st. If you're January 1st, we will be compliant.
Just make a concluding comment based on the comment. So are there exceptions, Chief, where anyone else can access the data after 5 years?
Linda, do you want to assist with
Well, the
regulation?
regulation speaks to it, so right now we have to be compliant with the regulations. So when we look to the board policy and we will listen to, what your direction will be, at the end of the day, it has to be compliant with the regulations. So we look forward to reviewing that with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I don't mean to take more time than needed, but it is a conversation that I think the board should have.
Absolutely, and we're going to do it, right? And the vice chair is spearheading this effort. And again, it's the regulation, the policy, the procedures. They all have to be in tandem.
We have been doing that since November 1st. So far, we have restricted over 24,000 documents.
And so when we look to the board policy and we will listen to, what your direction will be, at the end of the day, it has to be compliant with the regulations.
Summarized from the Peel Police Record Retention Schedule for PRP 17's page 100. Office of Primary Interest, Criminal Investigation Bureau. When charges laid, total, event plus 5 years, disposition method instructions, ERSH. When charges not laid, total, event plus 1 year, disposition method instructions, ERSH. ER means erase, and SH, shred. So you all did your best to keep hidden from the public that Peel Police street check forms and their related personal information were not supposed to be retained indefinitely, as Evans and Berkeley Brown claimed, but had a precise destruction schedule. Thank you.
Good job. Just right at the 5-minute mark. Thank you very much, Ursula. Are there any questions or comments from members of the board? Seeing none, can I have a mover for the deputation receipt? Seconder? Louise, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Our last deputation today is by Joseph Coos.